En el video que estás a punto de ver, tenemos a un hombre que, francamente, solo le faltó teñirse el cabello de morado para completar el combo. El tipo trata de defender con todo su ser, en un programa de televisión, unas declaraciones progres que hizo la ministra de la Mujer e Igualdad de su país, Reino Unido. Y como ya es costumbre en estos tiempos modernos, cuando le preguntaron a la ministra qué es una mujer, se lanzó con una serie de respuestas tan incomprensibles que hasta Google se hubiera rendido. ¿De verdad es tan difícil dar una definición clara y sencilla? Mira el video completo y dime qué opinas. Me encanta leer lo que piensas. Sin mayor dilación, comencemos.
We've got the audio of Annalise Dodds being asked what a woman is. Here you go, listen to this.
Labour's definition of a woman?
Well, I have to say that there are different definitions legally around what a woman actually is. I mean, you look at the definition within the Equality Act, and I think it just says someone who is adult and female, I think, but then doesn't say how you define either of those things. I mean, obviously, that's then you've got the biological definition, legal definition.
No, with respect, I didn't ask for that. What's the Labour definition?
Well, I think with respect, Emma, I think it does depend what the context is, surely.
Oh, here we go. She's the Equalities Minister, Sam. That's brilliant. She can't define a woman.
I just think this is such a ridiculous story, and it's a gotcha question, because the reality is, for the past God knows how many centuries, we've defined a woman based on
Since
self.
Adam and Eve, actually.
Yeah.
Since Adam and Eve, thousands of years.
Yeah, but that's always been based on self-identification or perception. So does someone present as a woman? Does someone present as a man? You guys all assume that I'm a man. But that's based on how I'm presenting to you. You haven't asked me to, drop my trousers and prove it. You haven't asked me to provide you any papers.
Not likely to.
No, well, good, thank you. I appreciate that. And I think it's just there's this ridiculous sort of gotcha question of define what a woman is.
It's a basic question for the Equalities Minister. What's a woman?
Well, a woman is.
That doesn't seem to say it depends on the context.
Well, but it does depend on the context, doesn't it?
But you are born male.
I am, so far as I'm saying.
So even if you presented to me as more feminine, if you had a dress on this morning and you've been sat in makeup, you would still be a man.
But you wouldn't know, is what I'm saying. I could be a woman right now. I could have women's parts and I could just be wearing a chest binder.
I want to live in a world that believes in truth. Yeah. That's the most important issue that underpins everything.
It's absolutely crazy. I mean, if she can't define the word woman, why is she a woman's minister?
Yeah.
What does that mean? She doesn't know. I mean, it's ridiculous. And we're only arguing about this because of a small minority in this country, and it's a tiny minority.
Less than 1%.
Who are unsure about their sexuality. The fact is, there are men and women, full stop. And we ought to just be bold enough and strong enough to admit that. If people want to pretend they're someone else, fine, good luck to them. I've got no problem with that. But the fact is, a man is a man and a woman is a woman. Full stop.
Actually,
there's no question about it.
We're not arguing about this because of trans people. We're arguing about this because a very small minority decided that persecuting trans people was good politics.
Who?
No, we're deciding this because a very small but very noisy group of trans activists decided to attack people like me when I was booked to talk at a legal firm on International Women's Day. This is 10 years ago. And I was told I couldn't stand because I'd once liked a tweet of an article in the Daily Mail written by Graham Linehan. That's where this started.
I don't think that is where this started, though. It started with people like Graham Linehan.
To cancel J.K. Rowling.
Who's cancelling J.K. Rowling? She's going to have 10 billion instead of 25 billion.
She's been banned from speaking at universities by this lobby.
She's been asked not to speak she's not been invited to speak at universities. Well, why is it cancellation that you say there's better people to speak at a university than J.K. Rowling? I can think about 1,000 people that are better to speak at a university than a billionaire that spends all her life on Twitter. I mean, what's she got to add?
Denigrate a woman who's got millions millions of people into reading books, kids. I mean, you're denigrating her as a billionaire. What's wrong if she's a billionaire? She's a billionaire because her books are so successful and they're good.
Yeah, and she could have used she's a billionaire that could have used all of that power and all of that influence to help people.
She
chooses to spend her time on Twitter attacking a tiny, vulnerable minority.
She's not attacking the minority. In fact, quite the reverse. It's the minority who are cancelling her and preventing her from speaking. I believe in freedom of speech. You clearly don't. I mean, I think it is absolutely absurd that this tiny minority of ludicrous activists have created an issue that never existed before. They've created it themselves because they're attention seekers more than anything else. And it is a waste of time and money for us even to be discussing it.
If you believe in freedom of speech, will you condemn Waterstones, who have fired an employee who criticised a writer who attacks trans people? It's subsequently turned out that writer has a history of tweeting things that, it's certainly in my view, are racist. For using her freedom of speech to defend trans people, the Waterstones fired her. Will you speak out for me, who, for using my freedom of speech to defend trans people, has been attacked repeatedly by the anti-trans lobby? You know, this is not a one-way street.
See, I don't believe there is an anti-trans lobby.
There's definitely an anti-trans lobby.
Not in the same way that there is the trans activist lobby. There are those who are pro-women, I would say, as opposed to pro-women's spaces, women's rights, women's identity, biologically born women. Those people, and I put myself in this category, do not wish any harm on any individual that wants to live a life that is opposite to the gender in which they were born. We don't wish them any harm. Whereas the trans activists wish biological women harm and have actually attacked women at protests.
Well, let's talk about these pro-women campaigners. Graham Linehan speaking at a conference in Ireland on the same platform as anti-abortion campaigners. Let's talk about the pro-women protesters who harassed a cis woman who won a 10K just because she looked a bit mannish. Let's talk about the ones that attacked a woman in a women's toilet because she had a pixie cut and they thought she was too mannish. She didn't conform to the sort of 1950s style of woman.
Let me get back to the point. The Equalities Minister cannot define a woman.
The Equalities Minister can define a woman, actually. She's aware of the legal definition. She's aware of the biological definition.
Sam, don't you think this whole horrible divisive issue would be really simply solved if someone like Annalise Dodd said, yes, a woman, a biological born woman is a woman, and there is also trans women.
Yeah.
That is it. Simple. Distinguish between the two. Because I will distinguish between you as a man, and if there was a man sat next to you who dressed as female, that would be, for me, no, other way around.
Yeah, the
other way around. If it was a woman, that would be a trans man.
Well, but I don't think...
And that's okay.
With the exception of a very small group of conditions, for example, if you're putting someone in a cell with them, then that would be part of the... part of your assessment, your risk assessment, that you do for all sorts of things.
Yeah.
But with the exception of that, this is a really arbitrary and unnecessary.
Las ideologías que promueven el relativismo suelen negar la existencia de verdades universales, lo que dificulta llegar a definiciones claras. Las respuestas vagas suelen reflejar una negación de realidades naturales o biológicas, como la definición de hombre o mujer, en favor de construcciones sociales más flexibles. Aquellos que evitan dar definiciones claras lo hacen porque creen que la identidad personal debe ser completamente autodeterminada sin estar limitada por factores como la biología, la historia o la cultura. Esto lleva a respuestas incoherentes, ya que intentan ajustarse a una ideología que prioriza las percepciones y sentimientos individuales sobre los hechos concretos. En muchos casos, las personas evitan ofrecer definiciones objetivas por temor a ser etiquetadas como intolerantes o exclusivas en un entorno donde la corrección política política domina el discurso público. Prefieren dar respuestas imprecisas para evitar críticas, desprestigio social o incluso la pérdida de oportunidades laborales. En un ambiente tan polarizado, cualquier afirmación que sea percibida como controversial puede desencadenar una reacción negativa, especialmente en redes sociales. Esto lleva a que muchos prefieran no definirse claramente, evitando así controversias que podrían afectar su reputación o relaciones personales y profesionales. La corrección política no solo busca evitar ofensas, sino que también establece un marco de pensamiento que se espera que todos sigan. Ante esta presión, muchas personas se ven obligadas a adaptarse, aunque no estén completamente de acuerdo, y optan por respuestas más ambiguas para no desafiar abiertamente la narrativa dominante. Y aquí culmina este video. Si te gustó, puedes darle like, comenta el video y compártelo. Asimismo, te comento que si te gusta este tipo de contenido, tengo muchos más videos similares que te gustarán muchísimo. Así que ya sabes qué hacer, suscríbete a mi canal. Muchísimas gracias, hasta luego.